Hello everybody, Nathan the F&I guy here again. Here today to talk to you about Leasing Basics 101. What I'm going to touch on is some of the fees associated with leasing in reference to Toyota leasing. Now every company is different when it comes to leasing, so be sure to ask your F&I professional about what is associated with their particular lease depending on which franchise it is. So to start with a lease from Toyota, there's what we call a $650 acquisition fee. Often referred to as an AC fee. What the acquisition fee is the cost of doing a lease with Toyota. So it gets added into the gross cap cost. Now, gross cap cost is a technical term for the total cost of doing a lease, which I will get into in a little further detail. So the $650 is actually built into the gross cap cost, which is the total lease amount. Now that amount is what they use to come up with your payment. So technically you're not paying $650 up front in total. It's actually being built into your payment that you make on a monthly basis. On top of the AC fee, a lot of dealerships have a documentation fee. Our particular documentation fee is $179. Happens to be one of the lowest in the industry. This fee is just also built into the gross cap cost as well. So you pay it over the distance of the lease, whether it's 36 months, 48, 60 months, 24-month lease is kind of a new thing coming out with Toyota. On top of that, there is a $350 disposition fee. So what a disposition fee is not something that you pay up front. You might even never pay it. What it is the cost of Toyota to pick up the vehicle, inspect it, and put it back into inventory on their end. So a disposition fee is only paid if you turn in the vehicle at the end of the lease. With that being said, you may never pay it if you sell your vehicle before the end of the lease, you trade it, you refinance the lease buyout balance, you would never pay the disposition fee as well. On top of this, when you go to do a lease, you're used to hearing the term of an interest rate. Well, in a lease, there's not an interest rate, it's what they call a money rate factor. A lot of times it looks like this. So what this is not an interest rate, it's a money rate factor. It's how they calculate the rent charge that you will pay on the lease. So think of a lease this way in terms of long-term rental. Like when you go to Hertz and rent a car, you're going to pay a rental fee. Well, the same is true of a Toyota lease. The rent charge is based off the residual value and the total gross cap cost. I like to tell people that it's basically Toyota charging you to borrow the residual value. They're not going to let you borrow the entire residual value for free. They have to charge you some sort of rent. Now, the way the structure of a lease works on how you make your payments, and I'll use pretty basic numbers, $30,000 is going to be our purchase price. So the vehicle costs $30,000. You also have the $650 acquisition fee. $179 dock fee. Now let's assume you're not adding any accessories or anything like that, because if you do add accessories, it bumps the cost of the lease, which is the gross cap cost. So for this instance, we're just going to use the dock fee and the acquisition. So the gross cap cost for the purchase of this vehicle is $30,829. Now you have a residual value when you lease. To make this easy, we're going to put the residual value at $20,000. So when you lease a vehicle, what you're actually paying on is the distance between the $20,000 and the $30,829. This is what you're making your payment on. So essentially, on top of that, you're going to have the rent charge. Which is different for every lease, and it's based on credit and where your credit comes in terms of the money factor. People with good credit get a different money rate factor than people with poor credit. So I can't really calculate one on this, but just keep in mind there will be some rent charge. On average, it can be anywhere from $500 to $2,000 depending on the cost of the vehicle. You can definitely ask your finance professional what the cost is, and it's always disclosed on every Toyota lease contract. So let's say you want to put some money down, and this is an often misconception I get when I get asked questions about leasing, is when you put money down on a lease, you are not buying equity. What you are doing is you are shrinking the payment. So the distance between the two, between your residual value and your gross cap cost, gets smaller, because when you put money down, you're now starting here instead of over here. So what happens is that payment shrinks. So putting money down on a lease actually shrinks the payment. Now if you look at the rent charge, it's actually better for the customer to not put money down on a lease, because hopefully you can put your money to work somewhere and make some interest on it. That being said, if you want a small monthly payment, then you want to put some extra money down, it'll actually shrink the payment. The way a lease works too with Toyota is you can pay off a lease early at any time. You can always figure your payoff on a lease with Toyota by taking your residual value plus remaining payments. So if you've made 12 payments and you have 24 payments left on a 36-month lease, it's the residual value plus the remaining payments equals your payoff. There's no early termination fees. You can pay it off early at any time. The one difference in a lease is you will not receive a title from Toyota. It actually stays with Toyota until you pay off the vehicle, buy it out, trade it, however you would like to do it. Montana is a title holding state, so they will actually mail it to you once you pay it off. So that is the basics of a lease with Toyota. If you have any questions, feel free to post them. I will continue to do more videos on leasing, because I think it's a great way to get into a new Toyota, especially if you like a new vehicle every 3 years. Also, it lets you get into a brand new vehicle with really low lease payments. So have a great day. Thanks for tuning in to Nathan the F&I Guy.